All right.
All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. A lot of people, I think, who follow me on social media and stuff would realize that, remember that a couple weeks ago I went to the Manitoba Loud Music Awards. I was nominated in the podcast category, didn't win. That's a whole other story. But one of the good things about going to that show was, first of all, seeing Voivod, but also seeing a bunch of local bands that were playing at the event. And so some of them I'd heard before, some of them I'd seen live before. One of them I hadn't. And so I connected with a couple members of this band to talk to me about the band because it's a new one for me, and I really enjoyed the set. So I think the best way to start this off is if the two of you want to introduce yourselves and give a bit of background about the band.
Awesome. Um, Avery, do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. We started, what is it, got to be pushing just about 3 years now, I think.
Close to
Just over 3 years.
four.
Four. Oh man, at that time, Soupy, the pandemic is still. Yeah, Ruben and I, the bassist, had played in a couple bands before over the years, and we've both known Rachel through different circles and friends. And he just called me up one day, a few months before the first lockdown. Wanted to get a new project going and had this person who was gonna sing for us, who I'd known as an acquaintance, but had no idea she had the pipes on her that she does. And from that first jam, it's just been rolling smoothly ever since.
Cool, cool. So that's yeah. I was going to ask about that because the pandemic has screwed up so many people's bands, and I've talked to a lot of people on this show who have, they started bands right around the time the pandemic started, and it just messed everything up in terms of obviously being able to get together to rehearse, to record, no
Mm-hmm.
shows happening. So I guess you're right, sort of right in the thick of that with when you started your band.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't something we imagined seeing on the horizon, and but we managed to survive. We were a smaller group, like we were a three-piece for a while we were still sorting, or a four-piece while we were still kind of
Okay,
sorting things out. So it wasn't too hard during the first lockdown to keep, like, or not the first, I think it was the second, when they started allowing those bubbles with other households. It wasn't too hard to have us cross over and still maintain that safetiness, or that bubble we were looking
Yeah.
for, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I was like, just to kind of second what Avery was saying. Yeah, like we started in January of 2020, and it was oh, sorry. Also, I'm Rachel Sansregret.
Ah.
No, but Avery, you also have to introduce yourself.
Oh, did I miss that too? Sorry,
you
I'm
well,
Avery
you were
Petrowski.
introduced. Rachel introduced you, and then sort of, yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, all good. So, Ave, sorry, do you mind if I just go into a little bit
Oh,
about where we
no,
started?
go for it, Rach.
Sweet, right on. So yeah, I'm Rachel, and I have the pleasure of playing in our band Sansregret with the lovely Avery Petrowski, who's here with me today, and is just a phenomenal guitarist as well as human being. And so, yeah, we started January of 2020, dark times, I'll say. At that
Yeah,
point, yeah, first lockdown was starting to happen. I was living in an attic in Wolseley somewhere and was like, what do we do during this? Like, what the hell are we gonna do? And so I reached out to Ruben and I asked him to reach out to Avery as well. And so we started talking about playing something that like a sound that we wanted to be different, and we weren't exactly sure what the sound was going to be, but we knew what the message was going to be, and just uh like Avery, myself, and Ruben from the band too, like we're all of Métis ancestry. And so when we were thinking about what we wanted to talk about with our band, and especially during the dark times of the early pandemic there, like the ability for those who are marginalized and discriminated against, and downtrodden to be able to rise, like for people to connect, and really really started to think about the idea of I'll quote Tom Morello here because he's really fucking awesome, which is that music is resistance and action. And so I think that, during a time collective for a lot of people, that's kind of, yeah, we started thinking about that. So,
yeah.
anyways,
Yeah, I think that I've heard. I'm not sure who said it originally, but the idea that when people are struggling and when there's shitty things happening in the world, a lot of the best art is made then because people have something important to say. They have something that they need to get out. It's not just, oh, I'm talking about this thing that happened to me on my weekend. It's more kind of urgent, right?
Yeah, it's truly like that. I don't know, sometimes I see it as like something getting forged, you know what I mean? Like you have like a big fire and you've got some hard nasty rocks and you just like, through whatever form out of alchemy of creativity, melt them down, right? And create something different that hopefully helps yourself as well as other people around you. So yeah.
Yeah,
And so with Witch Police too there, man. So kudos to you.
yeah. Thanks. Yeah, yeah. I've been doing this for a long time. I can't stop now. It's too far into it. I was gonna say though, also like that the idea of having something to say and heavy music and fast music, loud music, that all goes together really well. I mean, there's a reason that punk rock and metal and hardcore and all of these sort of subgenres and even hip hop. I mean, aggressive music has a way to deliver that kind of message, right? A message of resistance is it definitely works with folk music, but there's something about sort of being able to scream what you're feeling and what you want to say rather than just sort of quietly put it out there.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think there's actually like, I'll ask Avery to speak to this too. But when I think about like our influences, so like the Stooges, Babes in Toyland, Sepultura, like Nirvana, that type of thing. Like it's music where there's a point where people become unleashed, and that's appealing. I
Yeah,
think terms of that release and actually getting that, because yeah, I mean you can have folk songs that are about amazing resistance, but it has a different effect than, oh sorry, we have a guest. So this
right
is
on.
little as well as our other guitar player,
Hello.
my
Hey,
beloved Mike. Yeah, so yeah.
cool, cool. Is he coming to join us or?
No.
All right, that's cool. No worries. We got two of you. It's good. It's good. So yeah, I guess like everyone hates this question, and I kind of hate asking it because it's tricky, especially now when there's so many different sort of ways to describe music. But what do you call the style you do? Because I mean, like you mentioned, those bands. There's elements of hardcore. Clearly, there's elements of metal. I mean, the Sepultura thing makes sense. There's sort of just like sort of straight ahead hard rock things going on. There's a lot, right? So how do you define it? Do you have a way to sort of quick Cole's Notes version explain what you do?
It's a great
Well,
question.
we've been trying to narrow that down for a while now,
Yeah,
and going back and forth between the best way to describe it. And I suppose Rachel can correct me if I'm misremembering this, but I think in the last jam, last time we were talking about it, we settled on, was it stoner punk?
it was
Okay.
stoner. Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
that
sense.
is.
I mean, that has the stoner metal side of things, which is kind of that slow, sludgy, uh, doomy sort of vibe, and then the
Mhm.
punk has the aggression and the speed. And yeah, cool.
Yeah, like I like when I think about like what we were trying to create, because and again initially we were doing some covers and we were covering Stooges and Nirvana and different bands, but when we were thinking about what we wanted to do, and it was that like blending of styles, like there is some stuff that's just like straight up kind of hard rock, but really that like, but then but also the, as you were saying, the ability to get across a specific message using aggressive music,
Yeah,
and where the shit like Sepultura comes in, and that
cool.
kind of like where you actually, you want to drive it home. And yeah, like I think about growing up listening to like, Metallica and Soundgarden, when I think about that sludge, that deep, like, like the stuff off Super Unknown, and then going to see guys like Malfaction, and I was like, okay, so how do we make this soup, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, those are all definitely reference points that I had growing up too, for sure. Like I was listening to, I mean, Soundgarden was huge for me. I have a whole pile of Malfaction 7 inches. Like I get it, I get it. I think that's what I liked about what you guys were doing because a lot of the reference points that you mentioned here makes sense. It's, light bulb goes off. I like that stuff too, right? So
Right.
that's cool. What is with that sort of the stoner punk thing and the difficulty of pinpointing a genre on what you do, have you figured out sort of where you fit in with the local scene? Because there's so many like groups and cliques and all this crap. Do you have sort of a like? Is there a lane where your band sort of fits within the local music scene? Have you figured that? Have you found your people yet?
I'm like that. That's have we tried? Good question. Um, so it's and I'll ask Avery to speak to this one as well. But we were kind of thinking about that because we played like a metal. We opened for a couple of touring metal bands at the Park Theater. This is about 4 or 5 months ago already, and they were they were really great, but it was definitely like they were like hardcore thrashy like metal, right?
Yeah.
And we've also played with like bands that are punk. We've played with bands that almost lean a little bit towards ska like previously. And so for us, where we fit, frankly, I kind of like the idea of not necessarily fitting into one specific place. And like stoner punk, yes, but with a shitload of rage behind it. I gotta say, like that would probably describe it. Like we're yeah, there's the stoner punk elements, but we're pissed off enough to uh, get off the couch and put down the Doritos, right? So uh, yeah. But Avery, I'll ask your thoughts on that.
We're getting closer. We've certainly played a lot of shows where we kind of stand out like a sore thumb on the bill, and I don't think that's a bad thing. The bands we've played with are great, but there is quite the palette, maybe that's the word, in Winnipeg right now, or at least in the last 4 years that we've experienced since the
Yeah.
scenes have been coming back and slowly rebuilding itself. It feels kind of scattershotted right now, but I think we're having more and more luck as more and more bands come back, finding people we fit better like, throughout the evening with, and that's again by no means a complaint with anyone we played with. It's been a blast, but there has been some times where I've really felt like the odd band out sound wise.
I guess that nebulousness though, like the ability to fit in with punk bands and with metal bands and with hardcore bands and with all of these, like, I mean this is a good thing, right? In the sense that you are
Mhm.
opening yourselves up to a much wider set of audiences than if you were just say playing straight up thrash or something, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And like when I think about like some of the lyrics and some of the content and stuff that that we're doing, and where does it fit, like we have lyrics that are like fuck society's lack, and all kinds of things about the basically just being fed up with governmental systems, and the idea of even at a municipal level, the injustices that people face on a daily basis. And so that's like, yeah, it's pretty punk. But there's, I don't know. I think it's kind of the songs that we develop. Um, yeah, they just kind of it just sort of fits, it comes together, and it conveys what we're trying to convey. So yeah. But I will say though that some of the shows that we've played at different venues like the Park and the Bulldog and such, I do think it's kind of encouraging that there's a diverse array of bands that will play sometimes, so you get a
Very
little
encouraging.
of different styles. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that helps. It's always nice to see shows like that where it's just completely random. It looks like they put a bunch of bands in a hat and pulled them out. Because I find that like I don't go to shows as much as I used to since the pandemic for sure, at least. But I find that when you have a show where all the bands sound the same, it can be great if you like that stuff. But it's kind of like you want someone to change it up partway through at least.
Oh, I used to go to 3 hour grind metal shows. Like I and so amazing, but it's nice when you switch it up and maybe it'd be like grind band and harder. Yeah, you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So what's the songwriting process for you guys? Are there main songwriters in the band, or a main songwriter, or is it spread out evenly among you?
Well, Rachel takes care of the lyrics. Those are all hers. As far as the rest of the music, it's usually a process that happens at jam, or someone like Mike or Ruben shows up with a riff they've been playing around with, and then we mess around with it for a bit. And as we're putting down the sonic landscape, as I like to say, Rachel hangs out in the room, drinking it all in, and starts to work her magic.
Hmm. Thanks, Saves. I think that's a pretty good way to put it. Like kind of how we started doing it was um as Avery was saying, like Mike or Ruben or Avery will come in and have a riff or have an idea or something to work on. And then I like to sit on the floor while they play and just kind of listen. And sometimes, because I used to write poetry back in the day before putting songs to music, and so sometimes I'll have an idea for like something poetic, and then see what fits with what everybody else brings to the group. So yeah.
Cool. So it's are you always writing the lyrics sort of after hearing what they're doing, or is there some are there some songs where you sort of have it already completely pre-written and then you bring it there and then they just sort of create the music for it?
It's usually like so there's been times where I'll have like a poem I've written about something, and we don't have, say, like new instrumentals yet, but I'll be like, I'll keep that in my notebook and I'll keep it on the back burner. And then if something comes where it seems like that fits, then I'll kind of transfer either like usually it's pieces
Okay,
of what I've written to those instrumentals, and then you kind of fill in what makes sense as the two start to amalgamate, right, in the natural process. Um, but yeah, I would say though sometimes there has been times where I've got nothing written down and guys just start jamming and stuff comes like you feel things, right?
sure.
And so like we know the messages that we want to send, again about like music being resistance and action, and about the injustices facing, all people, like as the injustices facing indigenous people, as that is, many of us come from an indigenous background. And so and also just Winnipeg in general, how many freaking songs you can write about Main Street, like good God. And so it's yeah, so I guess to, long story long, it's kind of go either way, either lyrics before music or music before lyrics.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I wasn't going to ask you this, but because you just mentioned the idea of writing songs about Winnipeg, and you're right, there's countless, I mean, a never-ending amount of songs about the city or parts of the city or things about the city. But do you? I used to ask people this all the time, and I stopped because I kept getting the same answers. But do you have what is your perception of what Winnipeg's sound is as a city? Like, I mean, I know there's a lot of different genres that sort of thrive here, but do you think that Winnipeg has something? Is there something about a song in any style that would make you realize, lyrics aside, that it's from Winnipeg? Is there a vibe? Because some people think there is, some don't. I'm always just kind of curious what.
Good question. Okay,
Yeah, I feel like there is. I'm just gonna need a minute to try and put that into words.
I've been trying for like a decade on the show to figure it out. I don't know what it is, but there is something. Yeah,
I think it depends on the time though, because Winnipeg seems to every couple of years completely change what scenes are big. Because I mean, if you look at like '90s and that, it's like anything at the Albert,
yeah,
like like all the hardcore bands like Reality's End and the Umpires and whatever. You could hear a lot of those bands and kind of pick. It's like those are Albert bands,
totally.
and then later you'd have like the Horribles and the Squareheads, and
mm-hmm.
it was like really dirty rock and roll, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was like ska for a long time. So I think it depends when the time is, but at that time you can kind of hear it. Like,
Yeah,
Agreed. Agreed that at the like and it transferring from like dirty rock to ska to there being, a wicked blues scene, and so like the amount of different genres in Winnipeg, but when you talk about the sound too, like is there something almost that sort of crosses those, right?
yeah. Is there a through line that goes from folk to metal to ska to,
I
to
I
everything else?
I
Hip
want
hop.
to say hopeful perseverance.
Raw, yes, yeah, absolutely. And I was gonna say raw aggression,
Oh,
like
that's a good one.
yeah, yeah. I like what you said about perseverance there, though, Abe's.
Hopeful perseverance.
That's a good one. Yeah, yeah. One of the things that gets come up a lot on this show, when talking about this thing, is the idea that Winnipeg audiences, regardless of what kind of music you're playing, have a very high bullshit detector. Like people know when you're being fake. People want to hear something that's authentic, whatever it is, whether it's a blues
Yeah.
band, whether it's someone rapping, whether it's a metal band. I think that people can maybe more than other cities, maybe not, but there definitely seems to be a vibe here that people won't put up with something fake. or they will to a point, and then they'll realize it and back away from it.
I
Uh,
think, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Ace.
I think that comes from being a real working class city, and like we've never really been a boomer bust, always just kind of riding just above zero, and we don't have time for the bullshit.
There's there's absolutely that. I agree for sure. And but I also think too, like we have such a saturation of amazing music in the city. You know, it's like our restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Like real
Yeah.
comfy. There's 14 places to get it. You can be picky about blues because there's going to be something pretty cool going on a few different places. And that was one thing during the pandemic, actually, especially like it fucked me up. Like not being able to, like I used to work at this place, the Bella Vista.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they had a blues jam every Wednesday. And it was like wonderful, you know, just this cozy little place and everyone would get together and like, you know, Big Dave McLean and different Tim Butler, amazing local guitarist. And anyway, so it was yeah, yeah.
Well, it's that goes back to the idea of songs about Winnipeg, because I mean, just mentioning the Bella Vista, Scott Nolan has a great song about the Bella Vista, and he used to play there all the
Yeah.
time too. And there's definitely that weird connection going through everyone. I mean, he plays very different music from what you do, but there's certainly that kind of Winnipeg through line between his stuff and your stuff and everyone else's for sure.
Absolutely. And yeah, Scott, he was the only male waiter at the Bella Vista ever.
That's pretty cool. I'll have to ask him about that next time we talk to him. But I was going to say, what is sort of in the works for you now? I mean, obviously, thankfully, we've gotten through the pandemic stuff. So for the past little while, you've been able to play shows, you've been able to get together, rehearse, record, whatever. What's sort of coming next in the relatively near future for the band?
Well, if I can say, so we've been working on some recording. We right now we only have one song recorded, I think, to the sort of point of like, you know, clarity and like precision that we would like. But I think recording for us, writing definitely. We have been playing a fair bit, so we've been talking about, you know, making sure that we're balancing playing with, you know, having enough time to be creative. So I would say yeah, writing, recording, and then maybe when we get real big one day, we'll like get candy or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, yeah, cool. The good thing about this being a podcast is someone could hear it the day it comes out, or they could hear it, you know, like a year or two from now. So, what's the best way to find out what you're up to as far as upcoming shows and things like that? Because you know, depending when someone hears this, you could have a lot going on. You could have big shows like that. You could have recordings out, whatever, right? So, what's the best way to track you down on social media or anywhere else?
We have
Probably,
oh,
yeah. Go ahead. The
Oh, do you?
All right. So my guess would be the best bet would be either the Instagram or the Facebook account.
Okay.
None of us are really super social media present or yeah, it's something we're working on as a band, but I believe it's Sansregret 204
Answer
on
204.
oh wait, yeah, I meant Instagram, not Twitter. I know nothing of these.
so Instagram and Facebook, both handles should be Sansregret 204, and hopefully we'll be improving that in the next couple of months as well.
Cool, cool. And I'll link to those in the show notes so people can find that pretty easily when they check out the episode.
Thank you.
For the, you know, not recent future, but upcoming near future, do you have any shows or anything happening within the next month or so that you want to plug?
Sure, we got a show coming up at the end of October here.
26.
The 26th. Yeah,
At,
club happenings, is it?
yep.
Oh, cool. Okay.
26 club happenings. I think we're on. Actually, I don't know what time we're on.
Here we go. Doors at 8, show at 8:30. Cover is $10. It's called Drag Me to the Punk Show, and we'll be sharing the stage with Fuck Off, the Whatever Men. Oh, sorry, the Whatever Men, Chucky Cheapskate, and there'll be some drag performance as well, including Purple Haze, Carla Manji, Ted Fox, and Nyla Ganda.
Awesome.
And it's
in
a
support.
fundraiser.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ooh, and a costume contest.
Oh, there too.
What is the fundraiser for? What are they raising funds for?
It's for PFLAG It's for PFLAG youth. Essentially, Avery, can you say what it says on the poster? Do you have it?
The poster I have in front of me does not have the P flag info, but I can bring that up real quick.
Um, well, basically, it's a fundraiser for LGBT QIAS plus youth,
Okay.
and yeah, so that's kind of why it's the Drag Me to the Punk show because it's
Yeah.
being supportive of the LGBTQ IAS plus community, and yeah, wanting to.
The P Flag Canada network provides peer support, education, and advocacy for a Canada that affirms and respects all values, that affirms, respects, and values all sexualities, genders, and gender expressions.
That seems in line with your values as a band too. I mean, talking about sort of the resistance and then dealing with shitty things in the world, and that standing up for those kids
Absolutely.
totally
Great.
seems to fit. Yeah.
And
Yep.
for anyone that doesn't know too, that's the new old cavern under the old.
Cool. 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 Awesome.
Awesome. But yeah, it definitely aligns. I mean, we believe in, again, for people who are getting the shit end of the stick to, firmly believe in their own ability to rise up and to be able to, live in a way that is good and unique and correlates with their values, right?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.